So welcome everyone. This is Independent Solutions Ask the Expert. We cover a topic every quarter. The topic comes in from either the requests from attendants or what we see into support on professional services. And from there we'll host a session. And it's generally at 11 a.m. That will change depending on where the most attendants are coming from. If it's from WA, we generally hold it later. In this case, most of them were on the Eastern Coast, so we stuck to the 11 a.m. timer. So without further ado, we'll get started. And we're just going to do basic deals creation, go through and I'll show it all working. And the main test product we'll be using today is Ribena. But if I go into the deals section here, I went and cleaned this out. So we've just got the one deal in there at the moment. So in the deals screen, you've got the option to edit, add, copy and delete. So edit is to edit the pre-existing, adding is to add a new one. So we're going to create a buy 2 Ribenas for $10. So we want to buy this many of that, buy this many of these items for a set price, because we're buying 2 for X amount. So if we go through that, create the deal description. So this can be any description. I'm just going to mirror the one that I created earlier. So 2 Ribenas for $10. So this type of this type of deal doesn't have a group, which is why that's blanked out. So groups and priorities, we're going to show that working in a bit. Basically, the groups are to determine if a product is in more than one deal, whether they should both scan. So if I have Ribenas in a buy X amount for a set dollar price, and I've got one for buy 1 Ribena and get $1 off, if they're in the same group, only one of those two will trigger. If they're in different groups, they'll both trigger. And I'll show that a little bit later. Priorities, we'll actually show that working here, but we'll leave that at 0 for the time being. But priority is just, in this case, we've got 2 deals, buy 3 for 12, buy 2 for 10, and the priority determines which of the 2 will scan depending on certain conditions. I will show that though. So start date, end date. So the dates are pretty self-explanatory. It starts at this date, ends at this date. The times do confuse a lot of people. That isn't the time on that day. That is the time every day that the deal is running. The idea behind that is if you want to create a lunchtime special deal, for example, buy a popper and something from the hot box for X amount of dollars, you could go, okay, between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m., I want this deal to run. And the limit is how many times you can trigger this deal in a single transaction. I'm going to leave all that pretty much stock standard. We'll go through a little bit of that in a minute. But we'll go okay. So it's created it there. Until we've saved it, it's going to stay in that color. So we're going to change it from buy 1 to buy 2. And you can choose the allow more option. Not really necessary for this deal that we're creating, but you can do that. With nothing selected, we'll add our product. Ribena, $10. Save and send. The deal's created. You can see it's changed its color back to just black text. So it's not outstanding. And it's been sent. So we've got 2 deals in here, and I'm going to demonstrate the priorities here. So we've got 2 for 10, 3 for 12. So if I open up our point of sale down the bottom here, and I scan this twice, sure enough, there's the 2 for 10. If I scan it one more time, buy 3 for 12. Exactly as I'd expect it to. Now, if I want to change that though, and I say that I want this to be the high priority, for example, 1, the higher the number, the higher the priority. So if we had 6 deals in there, you could go up to 6 in priority, for example. Okay, save that, send it down. Back to the point of sale. You'll notice it hasn't scanned the 3-4 at this point, like it did just a minute ago. Now the reason for that is because we told it that the priority is always going to be buy the 2. So the only time that it'll buy the 3 is where it's the lowest pricing to make sense. So much so that it overwrites the priority. It's extremely hard to do that. The priority is the priority. It takes the highest slot. So in this case, that's what it'll do. So if I cancel that, that is priorities and basics. We'll talk about groups. So if I just change that back real quick, change it to 0 because we want them both to trigger. Done. We're going to add another deal. So all of these deal types here, you can use them as you'd like. And it's just as simple as thinking of as item being whatever the shop product is and how you want the dollar to change. So it's either take $1 off the product or X amount off the product, or buy it for a set amount or something to that effect. So what we'll be doing is to buy an item and receive $1 or % discount, because we can do that as a group. So we'll go buy a Ribena and get $1 off. Now we're going to trigger that as group 0 just for now. I'll show the difference in a second. Priority 0, because there's no other deals of that type for it to clash with, so it's fine. And okay. And $1 discount. You can do this by % as well when you buy one of this product. Send that down. Done. Cool. So jumping back into the point of sale. That didn't give me it. That's fine. Still giving me the 2 for. It's giving me the 3 for. Excellent. Now, if I go back and I change, that's still grayed out. I need to save that and send it. That's, yeah. Sorry guys, that's my bad. Cool, done. Right, let's try that again. There we go. Get the $1 off as we created. The 2 for will still trigger. And the 3 for will still trigger. And it will override it. Now, if we don't want it to do that, we change its group. It doesn't matter which number. It can be any group number, as long as it's different from the other group that these are in. So those are both in group 0, because we want them to trigger side by side, and we can't change that because of the deal type. We do want that one to be different for whatever reason, so we'll change that and send that down. So it's still going to trigger initially on the first product, and it's going to trigger the whole way through. So we can see $1 off, and we can see now that I've scanned 2, we get $1 off on each one. So $2 off plus the -6 from the deal for 2 for. And now we've got the deal for 3 for plus $1 off at each item. That's 3 items, $3 off. And that's the difference between groups and priorities there when it comes to those deals. So if you want a deal to trigger where a product exists in more than one deal, so in this case, we've got, like I said, we're using Ribena consistently through here. So we've got Ribena in the 3 and 2 fors, and we've got the Ribena to get $1 off. So if you want both the $1 off and the other ones to trigger, you want them in separate groups. Same thing can be said, and it's why it doesn't work for that deal for these two, but that does get confusing in the deal system and it breaks things, which is why it's been locked down, so that you can't change that group. Now, if you don't want it to trigger on each one, the other thing we need to talk about is the limit. So we could say just 1 on the limit, send that down. So it'll still trigger because we've got the group different than the other products. So it'll still trigger the 2 for and the 3 for, but I'll only get $1 off on that first product, and I won't get it again. So I've still got the 3 for deal, 3 for 12, but I get just one product in this case because we set the limit to $1 off, subtotal $11. And that's how the limits work. All right, so if I go back in here, so there, like I said, there is a bunch of deals here. They all work with that mindset. So if I go in to just buy this and that for a set price, so this is where you do a combo deal. Like we were saying for the lunchtime rush, if you were doing the date time, you could do X drink and X item from the hot box, for example. I'm assuming lunchtime rush either for workers coming home from work or kids coming in from school, things like that. You can still change your priority. Another sort of deal where the group's locked down, but you can change the priority, and every deal has that logic where it's either got to be in a separate group or it's got to have a higher priority than the other deals, depending on what it wants to trigger first and what it wants to trigger as the priority. If we go through this, I'm just going to explain the scenarios for each deal type. This is, of course, is more you have a deal in mind or deal requested from a warehouse or something to that effect, and you need to go and create it. And you just got to keep the mindset of if they're saying buy this product and that product, you want to this and that in the deal screen. So we'll go through and explain them. So buy an item, receive $1 or % discount. We just covered that one in the buy the Ribena. Buy this and that to receive. So that's where you buy more than one item. So same logic as the buy a Ribena, but it'd be buy a Ribena and something to get $1 off. spending an amount. So that is specifically for the value. So if I wanted to say spend $7 or $10 or however much to receive a discount. So the idea behind that one is more, if you buy anything in the shop, you get $1 off or $2 off. But you need to spend $100 before you get that. The logic for that one is more centered around the fuel site. So it would be spend $50 on unleaded or any fuel grade, and you get X amount off in store. Buy this and that for a set price, we covered that one. Buy this many of these items for a set price, so that's the Ribena deal we're running. Buy 2 for X amount, or buy 3 for X amount. Buy this many of these items for only this much each. So that can be accomplished a couple of different ways in these deals, but it's just to make it a simple one. So if you wanted to sell 4 Ribenas for $5 each, that's how you would do it. Buy this item and print a voucher. Okay, so this one is where things get a bit more fun. So the voucher number in there that gets created, and I'll demonstrate it in a minute. Basically, you have to buy something to trigger the voucher creation, and then that voucher creation can then go and trigger something else. And we'll touch on that. It's deal type 16 for that, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And same thing here. So spend X amount, or spend however much money on anything to print a voucher. Same as the other one, just a spend requirement. Buy these items to get this many points per dollar spent. So for those of you with an account system and loyalty, that's where that comes in. And same for this one here. Spend this much on anything to get this many points per dollar spent. Same thing again for loyalty, but it's a spend requirement. Buy items from this set to receive a discount on items from that set. So that's where you could have a bunch of drinks in one set and a bunch of food in the other, and you get a discount on the food, whatever's in that second set. Buy items from this set to receive $1 off individual items from that set. So the same logic as the one before it, but it's a specific dollar amount off instead of a discount. Now, redeem a coupon with a quantity. Okay, so this is where we start redeeming the vouchers from steps, from the deal type 7s and 8s. So you've bought an item or spent X amount to print a voucher. They come in with a voucher and you scan it and it will give something. So it could be you buy $50 worth of groceries here today and you get $5 off in the next 2 weeks, for example. So they'd come in with a voucher, they'd put X amount of groceries in, scan voucher and get a discount. So we'll go through roughly how to create that. There is a further and more in-depth guide in F1, but we'll touch on the basics. So go in there, we'll create one. So we'll keep it simple. Group, I'm going to just put this in a completely separate group, and I'm going to give it a priority just so that it's separate from the ones we've created and it's the highest priority because I want this one to scan above all else. Limit 1, because we don't want to give infinite vouchers, or at least in this example we don't. Buy 1 of Ribena to print a voucher. Now in this voucher, you can generate barcode, so it'll generate one for you, expires after X amount of days or on specific date. So that's where I was saying they come in today, they buy X amount or whatever the condition is that you want for the voucher to be printed, but they only have X amount of time to come back to redeem it. So that could be 2 weeks and you could specify a date, or you could specify expires after X amount of days. Now the reason why that's 2 different options is because you may want to say 2 weeks after the time they bought whatever the requirement was for the voucher, in which case you'd say expires after 14 days for 2 weeks, for example. If it's a specific date, if they buy it today, they'll have 2 weeks, but if they buy it in a week's time, they'll only have 7 days to redeem it. But that's why the 2 options are there, because it could be a limited time run event, which is why you would go by date, or if it's just we want to do it over a 2 week span from when you buy it, that's when you do the expires after X amount of days. I'm going to say 14 days just for the sake of it. I can't show that working because I don't have a receipt printer here, so I can only demonstrate that on live systems. Feel free to have a play with that one, and like I said, in the F1 guide there is instructions on that. I can show you that in a little bit. But now that that's done, we go add, so redeem, and this is where you've got a couple of options. So redeem a coupon with quantity, receive $1 discount. Buy these items and redeem a coupon to receive a discount. redeem a voucher to receive a cents per litre discount. Cents per litre specifically being more for the fuel sites, so you redeem a voucher from either a sister store, brother store, or an earlier shop, and they get 4 cents off a litre, for example. Now, we won't do that one. We'll do probably the redeem a coupon with a quantity to receive a $1 discount, just for the example. Redeem voucher. Again, just to keep it separate, but I want to keep this in the same one as the print voucher, so I'm going to put this in group 2. I'm going to give it a higher priority because you won't expect those two things to happen in the same transaction. In fact, they cannot happen in the same transaction, but you do want them in the same group because you don't want them to trigger twice. I'll give you an example of that in just a second. We'll limit this to 1 again. So redeem a voucher with a quantity to get item discount, but you also have to do something else. So you put in the barcode from the other deal, which was that. Description, redeem a voucher. Days. You can put a reference in there if you want to put a reference in there for tracking on your reporting. Don't have to. I put too many numbers in there, I think. Yeah. To get $1 off, so we'll say $3 off. You could do a percent again, but they also have to spend $20 or more on, and this time you wouldn't want the product that they're getting the discount on, so we'll just do a Coca-Cola glass, why not? All right, so to run you through that, I can't demonstrate that one as I did the others, but we'll run through the logic behind it. So customer comes in, buys a Ribena, just one bottle. They will print out a voucher. That voucher is active for 2 weeks, 14 days specifically, 2 weeks. They come in sometime within that 14-day period, they redeem that voucher, and they'll get $3 off right there. But they have to spend X amount on, in this case, Coca-Cola glass, which isn't very realistic, but you would usually add a bunch of items there. So perhaps the entire shop file, excluding cigarettes and things like that. And I'll show you how to do that in a second too. Now, the thing I was saying before that we'll come back to is the Ribena, specifically the product. So one of the things to keep in mind is that if I had the Ribena in here as a product instead of Coca-Cola glass, is that it will print out another voucher again. So they'd come back, they'd get $3 off a Ribena, in this case if they bought $20 worth, and they get another voucher to come back and do it again. So sometimes that's what you want, sometimes that's not, but it is something to keep in mind. So what we'll talk about now is adding everything besides items. So if we went back into that Coca-Cola glass just there, you can go everything except as a tick box. And if I was to add just tick, tick, oh, sorry, rather everything except, I'm probably going to go down my cigarettes. I can't remember what it is in the system. I think it's tobacco. Yeah. So if I go like that, it does take a second. Yes, yes. That's just all the family products that I'm going through at the moment. I think I made a mistake here by doing all the families, but anyway. So as we go through that, it's going to add all the cigarette items into this screen, and every item they spend $20 or more on will trigger the deal, except the cigarettes, which is the logic behind this. And you could do the same thing for phone cards. So phone cards, cigarettes, and there's usually a couple of topics like that that you'd want to leave out. I'm going to cancel Profit Track at this point because I don't think it's going to go through anytime soon. But all that's doing there, which is, and I'm just canceling it because we're in a session, otherwise I would go through and do it for all of them, is it's got a bunch of products in there that are part of families, and it's trying to go, hey, do you want this on all the products in the family, or do you just want it on the product selected? So I've just killed that just for time consumption. We'll keep it quick. All right. So back in here, it's probably going to leave the Coca-Cola glass because I didn't save it. That's fine. But that's the example of leaving, or rather restricting items from the deal if you want it for the entirety of your shop file. And again, you could do that for typically cigarettes, ePay, touch, those sorts of things. So the last thing we're going to touch on, and I don't have too much of an example here because I've got the wrong talker in the system, is deal talkers, and specifically how to create them and print them. So we've got the buy 2 Ribenas, for example. You can see here it's already got the 9 up. And I actually will talk about this too. But anyway, if we want to add to a batch or edit it, now it's not going to come up correctly in this because I don't have the correct talkers. So what you want to see in that style instead of 9-up offer is, because 9-up offer is specifically for the specials or promotions, you want to see a freehand. So that'd be a 1-up, 2-up, 3-up freehand talker for the deals. So in the text field, you'd go buy 2 Ribenas, $10. This isn't going to come up in my talker because I've got the wrong one, but that will come up in black text in this white preview box when you've got the right talker type. You can save it, add it to batch. You can see I've got 1 talker outstanding there. Click on print, and you can see here the description of the talker that'll print. Click print, it'll go through and print it. You can see here it's a blank text. Like I said, it's not going to come up for me. I've got the wrong talker in the system, but it will come up there with your text. And you can see there my batch that I did yesterday when I did a demo run through my system for this session, where I've created the other talker batch there. All right, so that's the basics of deals right there. There isn't a whole lot more to it, but we're going to touch on just one thing which is a little bit more advanced, and it's custom deals, and specifically why you'd use them. So we've got buy 2 Ribenas for $10. And down the bottom here, we've got the options to add trigger, add voucher trigger, and add price level trigger. Now those are specific functions for if one of the preset deal types up here don't quite meet what you're trying to do. So for example, we've got the buy Ribena print voucher. Buy 1, print a voucher. If you did want to create that and wanted it to be part of this one, you could. You could add a voucher trigger. So when they buy 2 of the Ribena and redeem a voucher, blah. So it's custom deal making at that point. And you can add extra requirements. So adding a basic trigger is just to make it go, okay, you've set the pre-requirement based off the preset deal of buying 2 for X, but you also have to and buy or and spend to trigger. So for example, you want the buy 2 for 10 for the Ribena, but you only want it if they've spent X amount in the store. You could go, okay, value $50, allow more of everything, for example, and that's where you'd go exclude cigarettes or items that are already reduced, phone cards, that sort of thing. And you don't want it to be the same product. Have to make that clear because otherwise it won't work with the deal because you're buying and excluding and it won't work. So keep that in mind. But if I was to choose a Coca-Cola glass again, I think that's going to be a popular one with me today. They'll still get it for $10, which is the intended purpose behind the preset deal to buy 2 for 10. But they have to now meet that requirement of spending $50 or more in the shop. Or I'm saying shop, even though that says Coca-Cola, just because I don't want to go through that process of all the families again. Assume that's the entire shop file. So you'd go through buy 2 of Ribena and spend $50 or more on anything, and you'll get it for $10. But you have to meet that spend requirement. That's the purpose behind the extra trigger. And same logic, you can remove trigger once you've created them. Now, if you have price levels in your system, you can select a price level and add it. I don't have any in this system because I don't run accounts at all from this Profit Track database, but you could do that. So if you have specific customers that you have as account setup and you want to give them and specifically them a deal, that's how you do it. So if you have, perhaps you want to create a staff deal for your brother or sister store, just as an example, you'd create that and you'd go, okay, you have to scan your card as a customer or an account customer, I should say, and then you'll get the deals. And that's how you add it. And that will work on pretty much every deal in the system where you can add a voucher trigger, add price level trigger, and add a trigger. And those are the 3 custom ways that you can modify your deals after choosing the preset from the add list. So just keep that in mind. So that's the screen in entirety. Now, by default, Profit Track won't delete a deal once it's gone. So once it's hit this expiry, the 17th of the 6th or 16th of the 6th, they will go red but you can still see them if you go back in date far enough to see them. We don't recommend changing the dates on old deals because it does get confusing. Only to look at the products when you're trying to investigate, hey, why is my deal not working? It's better and cleaner just to create a new one and easily see whether you're clashing on your groups, priorities, etc. Now, if you've got a massive list, as I know a lot of retailers do, I don't because I cleaned out all my deals last night. If you've got a massive list and you're not quite sure which deals the product could be in, easiest way is to go into the shop file, which will take me a second. Bring up your product, and go to the deals tab, and it will tell me all the deals that this product is in specifically. So if I'm having an issue with one of the deals, I've just created one for Ribena and for whatever reason it's not scanning and I don't know why, I'd go into here, check my groups and priorities, make sure it's not clashing with something because that could be a very real cause, or the other one, the sell price is cheaper than the deal. So in this case, the sell price is $8. Every deal there works out cheaper per product than $8. So 2 for $10, $5 each, 3 for $12, $4 each. So it's always going to trigger the deal. But if I had one that said buy one for $10 and my sell price is $8, Profit Track won't scan that as a deal because that's not a deal. That's excess money. So it's just a couple of things to keep in mind there about why deals in general don't work. And that's about it. So at that point, I'll close this off. I'll leave that screen open. I will unmute the session.